if you are in the previous presentation, the previous presentation is about helping international students achieve well or better in the classrooms. And my practice or experiment is the other way around. So it's about how to help domestic students to be more interested in people from another country or in another culture. I myself started as an international student at IUPUI. So I went through, the whole path what Honor and Bronwyn talked about, struggling in classrooms, trying to get help from international students or domestic students. I had trouble, talking to or making friends with international students. So after I became a teacher at IUPUI, I was involved in a lot of international recruitment and collaboration programs, helping international students getting acclimated at the campus life. But after a while, I heard comments from international students that it's difficult for them to make friends with American students, even if they wanted to. Some of them tried hard, but they say that I don't know how to make friends with American students. I try to talk to them, but feels like they are not really interested in talking to us. After hello, hey, how are you today? Have you done with your homework? Then it was just the silence. They don't know what to do. And I myself had the experience that I was in a lab with, that was when I was a student here. I was in a lab with another student, and I tried to start the conversation. Then after like 1 or 2 minutes about homework, he started to talk about football, and I was totally lost. I had no idea how to be engaged in conversation. If he asked me about Chinese cooking, I would be all light up and I can share lots of things with him. But I don't know how to be engaged in how to talk about football. I actually, at that time, I knew nothing about football. So it was just, the conversation just went dead immediately. So, after I worked on international programs, I suddenly started to think, how do we help American students be more interested in another culture? It's not just to help international students on campus, but it's actually a benefit to them too. Not just, have them to be a better person, to just, be a more interesting person, but also it will benefit a lot to their future career. So I want to go from that standpoint, try to engage more international related activities or classroom activity designs, just to help them see that this is going to be very beneficial to them. So that's my topic is about how do we use existing classroom materials, not to redesign a new course like study abroad programs. It does help students, but it's almost a new course, so you need to develop this, and there's lots of procedures to go through. But most of the students don't go to study abroad programs. So how do we help those students through just a regular classroom teaching? I teach in areas of database, web applications, and data analysis, where in those, most of my students are computer science majors. But I'm also a service course coordinator for computer science courses in the IUPUI General Education Core. So in the General Education Core courses, pretty much all students are non-computer science majors, so they can come from just all over the campus. So that gives me the opportunity to experiment in 2 different student pools. One are computer science majors, another pool are just the general education core courses. And one of the focus is to do a comparative study about how do we help students in 2 different pools. So as educators, we know we all want to achieve better learning outcomes. We want to teach students hard skills, but we also want to prepare students to enter the workforce. So I also do a lot of classroom activities to improve students' soft skills, like presentation skills, time management skills, conflict resolution, problem solving, and so on. One of the things I added to the soft skills recently in the past 2 years is about instilling the global awareness. So I try to incorporate IUPUI global learning outcome into the existing course learning objectives. So I'll share my experiments in 3 courses that I teach, and there's some. And I designed some surveys to assess the approaches I used. There's some very interesting findings, and they're very encouraging findings, and some things are very interesting too. You've seen this slide in today's keynote speaker presentation. I promise I didn't talk to him, and I didn't know him. So, but obviously this is a frequently quoted, cited quote from him, from the LISC. IUPUI developed a set of international learning goals in 2006. So I think one of the inserts in the folder is the 12 IUPUI international learning goals. So I picked several that are applicable to my class. For example, students will appreciate the complexity of the contemporary cultural systems. They should be skilled at interacting with people from another culture. They will understand the global context of their profession, and they will apply their international learning in the community, and also they will have a good working knowledge of the broader world. So a lot of the things I do is trying to follow these guidelines and try to increase the students' awareness or ability in these. The 3 courses I experimented in are advanced database programming class, where most students are computer science or information technology majors. I've mentioned IT here, it's because it's a cross-listed class. So we have computer science on campus, informatics, and computer information technology. So these are 3 different programs. But the first course is cross-listed. That's why I put computer science and IT. The second class is an advanced web and database class. So students will learn to develop a website with database support. Basically, it's a database-driven websites like information management systems. And the third one is a general education core course. It's a data analysis class. So they are all non-computer science majors. In this class, we teach database, data analysis, and data reports or visualization. So in 311, because this is a database design and development class, the approach is to use examples applicable to a global setting. For example, when I teach database design, when they need to design the field lengths for last name column, if you imagine a table that stores all student information, so they have first name column, last name column, middle name column. So when you design the column width for last names, you have to think of the maximum characters allowed in that column. So if I ask students, what do you think are the maximum number of character settings? They will say 20. Or I say, well, are you sure is 20 enough to store all last names? They say, well, maybe 30. Okay, then I keep asking questions. Okay, do you store only American students in this table? They say, well, no. Okay, then if you store international students in this table, what can be the last names like in other countries, other cultures? Have you seen really long names? They say, oh yeah, I do see long names. So is 20, 30 enough? Then I ask them, what's the longest last name in the world? So they will look into internet and they will think, okay, what's the longest? I think I read once or heard in the news, it's 126. That was quite a few years ago. I read that, but is it truly 126? We don't know, but we know it could be pretty long, correct? So, and then one student in the class is from Afghanistan. He said, well, our last names are my father's last name plus my grandmother's, grandfathers and great-grandfathers and great-great-grandfathers. You just keep getting longer and longer. Then students ask, when do you stop? We say, well, we stop whenever we feel it's good enough. So just to use these concepts, you have to teach about these anyway, but just engage students in all these questions and encourage them to research about it. So when they design database, they wouldn't only focus on, okay, this is used in the US. It's not the case. So same thing with zip code length and phone number formats. Should they just say state, or should they say state or province? Or maybe one column to store the state and another column to store the province also. Date format is very different from country to country. So, and database reports, when they pull data from the database, they give the reports to other people. So I encourage students to think about who's going to read the report. If you send a report to Hong Kong, then obviously you will have to convert the Fahrenheit degree into the Celsius. Or date format, 05/04 in US means May 4th, but if people in Hong Kong read it, they will think it's April 5th. So if you don't know your readers, if you don't have that global mind setting, then you will create some confusion, or your work performance may suffer. So in another class, this is a web database development class. One of the feature of this class is this is a service learning, student develop service learning projects in this class. So they will work with the real client and develop a web application for the local client. Because this is a team setting, because this is a semester-long project, so I will screen all projects, and I'll give preference to projects that has an international global component. For example, either this client is providing service globally, or maybe the client itself is from another country, just to try to give students more opportunities. And as a team project, I encourage and I enforce teams with a mixed cultural background. So if I see two Chinese students work on one team, I'll say, no, you either have to split up into different teams, or you have to include students from other countries, or include an American students on your team. Because they design web applications, I will ask them, is this web application accessible all over the world? If you allow users to register themselves to this website, when they register, do they enter their addresses? Do they enter phone numbers? So if so, are you allowing people from any country register into your system? And then some of the web applications are designed for a particular country or specific user groups. For example, this is only used in China, so the language needs to be in Chinese for sure. But what about other things? Is the language difference enough? So have you considered homepage styles in China? Because homepage styles in China is very different from homepages in US. In US homepages, videos, lots of videos, big pictures, maybe half of the screen is a video, and then lots of links. But homepages in China, there are lots of small, pieces, and each piece is filled with information. Basically, people try to put as much information on the homepage, front page as possible. So obviously, a homepage that's popular in the US may not be welcomed by people in China. So students will need to research about, what are the web applications like in another country, and you will try to develop something that's liked over there. And because they will work with a client, real client, so I encourage them to just envision if your business partner is from another country. So when you schedule meetings, or when you setting deadlines, have you considered the time zone differences? Have you considered the season differences? Have you considered leadership styles? leaders in China tend to be very authoritarian, so when you talk with them, I say never use their first name only. So here, when we talk with our boss, we may use first names, but in China, you will either have to say Mr. So-and-so or add their job title to it just to show respect. Therefore, students have different opportunities to think and to engage themselves in these activities. And lots of times, if you think about it, the answer to these questions are not difficult to find. What's the different zip code styles? But if they don't have this global mindset, then they will not think about going to do some research. And after research, they will change their design very often. And these are a few projects students did with a global element, like this client. The first project, the client is serving Africa continent. So that's a good experience for students to see what this person is doing with business people in Africa. This is a multi-language version project. This one is the client is from another country. This one is a global. This project is serving globally, and then project with totally another language, and then projects with team with mixed cultural backgrounds. And 207 is a data analysis class, as it were, general education core. This basically teaches the database design, data analysis, but at a little lower level because this is a 200 level. So concept is pretty much the same. Therefore, it's very interesting. So I think, it's very interesting to see the difference of the same approach, the effectiveness of the same approach applied to different student pools. So I designed 2 surveys given to about 125 students. So the survey results is from 125 questionnaires. The first type of survey is the pre and post survey. So it's identical questions given twice, once at the beginning of semester, once at the end of the semester. So the questions are like, I'm interested in knowing another culture. I'm interested in attending culture-related events. I'm interested in, I have some knowledge about another culture. Understanding another culture will help me with my career. So these questions, and I want to see after I taught and instilled the global component into the class, are there any differences? So that's the first set of survey. And the second set of survey is on learning outcomes. Questions are like, this class increased my interest in getting to know another country. This class increased my ability in working with my profession. So these questions like that. The survey, this is the pre and post survey results. The left side is the non-computer science majors result, and the second is the computer science majors. Overall, the findings are pretty good. The overall averages are around 3.95 to 3.54. 5 is the highest score. So this basically shows students are pretty interested in another culture. So that's sometimes we hear people say American students are not interested in another culture. So this shows like it's not really the case. Maybe they just don't know how to work with students from another culture, not because they are totally not interested. And some scores are high for both science and both CS and non-CS majors. So question 1, 2, 8, 9, 10. So 1 and 2 is about I'm interested in knowing about another culture. So those are encouraging. And some scores in the middle are generally lower, and that's an interesting finding. Those are question 3 and 4 is about taking actions. So I'm interested in attending events related to with the international theme, or I'm interested in working on the project with the international students. So this makes me think that they're interested, but they are not really interested in taking some actions. Maybe I should look more into that. Another interesting finding is this one, this very tall bar here. The non-CS students are more interested in study abroad programs than computer science majors. So in that bar, it's lower in CS majors. So I have a third survey developed for that. I'll share about that later. So this is the survey result for learning outcomes. So this class increased my interest in another culture. So did I help them? For non-computer science majors, it's a very almost identical, we call it the bell curve, which means about a third of students say, yeah, neutral, and the same amount of agrees and disagrees, and almost same amount of strongly agrees and strongly disagrees. But for the computer science majors, 40 plus 25, about 65% of the students are in the agree side. So either agree or strongly agree. This class did help them increase their interest in another culture. And then 25% in the neutral zone, and about 10% in the disagree zone. So this survey result shows that the effectiveness is more obvious in the computer science majors. Therefore, maybe they can see that what they are learning in the class does help them more in their future career. So what should I do with the non-computer science majors? And this is another way of looking at the learning outcome survey. This is the computer science majors. You can see that it's very clear, 3 different set of student bodies. The green ones are the agrees. So a lot of the agrees, some in the middle neutral zone, and a small amount in the disagree zone. But for non-computer science majors, for Gen Ed students, they are all over the place. So pretty much a third agrees, a third neutral, and a third disagrees. Therefore, I heard this very often, global learning is discipline specific. So there's no set of canned approaches, say we should use these approaches to any students. You have to look at what courses you're teaching and try to find something that can relate to them. So this is the result highlights. I think we covered everything here. Okay, this is the follow-up survey, because the previous survey shows that non-computer science students are more interested in study abroad programs than computer science students. Because I'm always thinking of developing a study abroad program. I've never get to it yet. But now that the survey says computer science students are not so interested, then should I work on it more? Therefore, I developed the third survey is, I want to find out, is it true that CS majors are less interested? And if so, why? What is the reason? So the next survey is about study abroad program only. It started with, I'm interested in knowing about another country. And then I'm interested in attending events talking about study abroad programs. Study abroad programs help me with my future career. Study abroad programs help me become a better person. So questions like this. Or if study abroad programs are too costly, study abroad program too complex. Or I've never received information about study abroad programs. So those are the questions. The survey results shows non-computer science students, which is the blue bar, they score overall higher than computer science students or IT students, which means they are more interested in study abroad programs. They are more interested in attending events about study abroad programs. They think more, they think more that it's too costly. So, but there are three bars that CS students scores higher, which are, I never received information on study abroad programs. And the study abroad program is too complex. And if I know more about study abroad programs, I would participate in the study abroad programs. So this trend clearly shows to me that they are not so interested. Maybe it's because they don't know that much about programs, the study abroad programs. Maybe they're less informed. Maybe they never know about it. So that's why they think it's too complex. Okay, not because it's too costly, not because they are less busy. They are more busy than other students. So that did show they're less interested, which is a good thing because, you know, after all these surveys, it all points to the same place. But they are less informed. So that leads to my future work is, you know, I'll continue with curriculum internationalization, but now I will try to seek different approaches for different student pools. And I will try to collect more information and explore opportunities for computer science students. At least first, I will inform them, talking more about study abroad programs, you know, give them more materials or resources. Then maybe I'll start another survey and say, now that you are informed, are you still interested? Then I'll decide if I will look into, you know, study abroad program. So that's my contact information. Leslie Bozeman is the director for curriculum internationalization. If you have more questions, you can contact her also. Her office provides great support to faculty members to attend workshops or conferences on curriculum internationalization. I benefited a lot from her office, so great resource on this. I hope we're good on time. Questions?
So I was wondering on your survey if you addressed or considered the issue of advising in that. I mean, like a lot of times, one of the difficulties students run into is I can't fit it and stay on track, for example, with study abroad programs. Did you look at that at all?
Yeah, not on study abroad programs. I did receive students' comments on that survey. At the bottom, I say provide any information, say why you are interested or not interested. Indeed, several students say, I just don't have time. Summertime, I have to take classes. You know, other times I'm also busy. So that indeed is a case. But I haven't done anything further than that yet. It's a reality.
Yeah. Well, and it might be a way to look at advising, especially since you have a singular advisor.
Right.
To be able to combine that research.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I'll definitely, when I start working on the program, I'll work with the advisor. Sure. We have another question? Yes.
I just wondered whether there's a difference in the percentage of international students in the CSIT major versus the non-CSIT major in the study they did on interest in study abroad.
A small percentage, because I teach in the undergraduate programs, so we do not have a large international student body in the undergraduate programs. So I would say for a class of 35, I may have 2 or 3 normally international students. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it.